What is up, everybody? Myself, Frankmeister, and Ruckus here tonight joining me. We're going to do some Delphi talk, answer any questions, anything you guys got, any theories or ideas. Walks are coming up this weekend. I'll be going to them. Frank's going. I'm sure a lot of people in chat will be. So we could talk about that or, make plans where you're going to be here, you're going to be where. In case I forget to say this to everyone in chat, if you see me at the walk and you say, hey, Coach Kev, don't say I'm Jim or I'm John. You got to tell me like I'm Huge Erection or I'm whatever your name is. Whatever your name is, because that's okay. Like I don't know. We were just talking about a YouTuber here. We don't know. I was like, I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl. So. But how are you guys doing?
I got the squeamy eye.
Not me.
Not yet, at least, right?
No, dude. I'm not drinking. I'm on that carnivore diet, so I only drink water and eat meat. That's it.
Well, I tell you what. On what day was that? Was it Saturday night? You were toasted.
Oh yes,
he was toasted. Yeah. We were talking on the phone. I said, "Man, you're lit, aren't you?"
What's up, Chopper? Jinx is always in there. There were some people commenting early on, but whatever. I wanted her to know that I was not cut from the same cloth as she is, and Frosty is also not the crazy cloth. Yeah, CJK, we were talking about basketball right before this. Where I'm staying at for the walks, we're going to be right near Purdue University. So my girlfriend's going and her daughter's coming with us. So we're going to try to go watch the game somewhere, get some atmosphere. Even though I'm not a Purdue fan and I won't be wearing any Michigan stuff because I don't want to get attacked. Although we're not big rivals, but it's still the Big Ten. First question from Mary Margaret. Any thoughts on Abby possibly having a phone with her the day of the murders?
Absolutely not.
Frank? Wow,
absolutely
Ruckus?
Not.
I don't think so either.
We
would know by now.
I know that the defense said something in one of their things that they put out mentioning a phone. And I commented before, I wouldn't be shocked or surprised by that because, again, I'm on the side where I think she got catfished somehow. Whether it was a phone or some other kind of device or something like that, I think that actually she was the one. She was the target, and I based that on the way she was treated after. I think I was undoing. She was redressed, and Libby was left the way that she was left.
More of a remorse type setting.
Yeah, and I go back to what they said. You have a little bit of decency left in you. Yep. I think that's what they were talking about. But the phone thing, I'm on the fence. I haven't seen anything firmly about it, but you can't take what the defense says as gospel, as we know now after seeing other things. They're arguing for their client. They're interpreting things a certain way, so they're not necessarily lying. Maybe they're never going to prove they were lying. Oh, we thought this, but I found that very interesting. And it's an interesting talking point, but what do we have? 5 weeks, and we're going to find out.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but the way things, I just don't see it going to trial.
I don't either.
Honestly, because with this new stuff that came out in the new Frank's Motion 3 today from Nick, he put him on blast and just basically shot him down. And now, they've got 3 continuances they can use. And I have a feeling they're going to use that shit.
There's ways around it, too. They can do things to continue it without using those continuants.
Right.
If they blame the prosecution, the judge can grant them an extension. If they say, well, we're just getting all this information. But from what Nick put out today, they have had most of this information. So we'll see. I don't think it's not going to happen in 5 weeks. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to make any plans because I want to come for the trial. I'm not going to make any long range plans because I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, see, that's what I've done. I've kind of backed away a little bit because it's only like 5 or 6 weeks away. I mean, why make arrangements for an airborne or whatever up there in that area to stay for the couple weeks and the damn thing gets continued? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you. What are you and Frosty's? What's your game plan? Are you saying like, so if we get a week away and there's nothing slowing it up, now maybe we're going to look the book, or because that is a tricky thing. I never thought
it is real tricky. I mean, we just got to wait to see what happens with Judge Gold when she rules on the contempt motion. That's what we're waiting on. That'll tell a lot right there.
And to clarify something, I think I have this right, but you guys will know this. They could basically plead or make a plea deal up until the case is given to the jury. Is that correct?
Correct.
So they could go through their whole trial, and right before they're going to the jury, they could say, hold on, judge, we need to have a meeting or sidebar or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the judge has to approve it.
Yeah.
At that point, I've only seen a change of plea, because the state, they want to do a plea deal to avoid all this bullshit. Yeah. So once you get through all that, the state's going to say, fuck no, we're not giving you a plea deal. You can change your plea, but it depends what he knows and what he's willing to do. Will he testify against other folks? You know, they got to make some concessions.
I have another question for you guys real quick too, and I'm very interested. Like I was about the Major Click stuff. Did he say Odinism? No. I think they're pivoting from an Odin sacrifice to blaming these other guys who are Vinlanders. My 2 cents.
That's exactly what he said in court. He didn't use the word Odinism.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
He used whatever that word, Vinlanders.
They stated it was an Odin sacrifice in the first couple lines, if not the first line of the Franks memo. Now they don't mention it with their key guy on the stand, but I think that's smart for them because he doesn't believe it's an Odin sacrifice either. Major Click's been very clear on that. Here's my question to you guys. Do you think we'll ever hear Richard Allen speak in court, not just take the stand? Do you ever think we'll actually hear him talk? And do you think the defense, just theorizing, is very weary of him talking publicly?
I don't think he's ever going to speak.
No, he's not going to talk. And yes, they're leery of him speaking.
So if he doesn't, that would be the defense doing a good job saying, "No, dude, you can't talk in court because everyone's going to be like, holy shit," or okay.
Right.
I thought that was.
And this is another case.
The only time that he'll ever speak is that the judge is directly questioning him about something, like in pretrial hearings, or she'll ask him, "Do you understand this, Mr. Allen?" Little things like that. That's the only time you're ever going to hear him speak. I heard him speak a couple of hearings back in Delphi when she was questioning him. And then I heard him speak right next to me when he said hi to Kathy, who sat right in front of me.
Well, he can stand in silence. He has that right as well.
Right.
And his attorneys can answer for it.
Right.
Phil Bond did a 199 super sticker, says, boil her up.
Oh, thank you, Phil. I've learned that you could look over here on the side and get the super stickers.
Yeah, you see where it says Stod?
Yeah. I got you. And Frosty just has a good question here too, or a good comment. Oh, it was about the Purdue professor, and what you guys basically thought about Nick's response to what he says the Purdue professor says, as to opposed to what the defense said about the professor. What do you guys think of that?
Well, the defense, what they tried to make it look like is that they were hiding from them who the Purdue professor was. And then before they let them know who it was, they quick ran and interviewed him. When that turns out that that's not the case, the defense asked him to re-interview that Purdue professor. So, you know, they're hashing words. And according to Nick, I mean, they're just flat out lying about that. And unfortunately, you know, everybody's got their panties in a bundle about Liggett lying to the judge for a search warrant, which he did not.
No.
But it's okay for these guys to lie about that kind of stuff. It's all part of the process. I understand it, but transparency, right? If we want transparency, well, then he should testify on his own behalf. We should see these receipts for what they've spent on what experts, you know? And that would clear up a lot of shit.
While we're talking about that, Mary Margaret has another good question. I'm just kind of bringing questions up out of order. But while we're talking about that, if one of you guys or both you guys could explain the defense. So whenever they spend money or do something, how do they get reimbursed? They're not giving $2 million in a briefcase and saying, use this as you need to bring back whatever you don't use. Would you explain that process? They asked the judge, we need 50 grand and this is for X, Y, and Z. Would you guys explain that a little bit?
Give me just 1 second before I answer that. I got a question to my phone from Jinx. To clarify, the date that I heard him speak was Halloween of last year. The hearing right after the October 18th hearing.
Okay. Thanks,
Right.
Jinx.
She sent it to my phone.
She's on it.
Yeah. Now,
what do you guys think about that?
Are you talking about the other search or the phone or?
No, we were just.
I missed the question. Sorry.
Well, initially before the phone, I have that question up because that's a good question. I want to ask that next, but we're kind of dovetailing into the court. How do they ask for money? And are they just given money, or they have to go to the judge and formally request, we want 20 grand for this, 20 grand for that? And up until these filings yesterday or today, they haven't done that yet. Do I have that right?
It's the same for both sides.
They both have to file motions to request funds that were allotted to them.
Okay.
Right. The prosecutor can't just go willy-nilly and spend money.
Right.
He has to get shit approved by the court system as well. But what the defense is wanting is the same. They have every opportunity to cross-examine these experts. They don't need to have their own individual experts. They don't have the burden here. The state does. So if they're wanting experts and they're really adamant about wanting experts, that tells me that that's something important that they really, really want to go after. They want to find somebody that has an opinion that differs from the state's experts, who they've probably already deposed. So they already know what they're going to say.
Do you think that the defense had experts already, however they got them, whether they're assigned or whatever, and they didn't like what those experts had to say? Now they want additional experts. Do you understand it that way, or do I got that wrong? Because
I don't think it's a matter of. I don't think it's a matter of them not getting the answers that they want. They just know what's going to happen to those people during cross-examination. Maybe they don't have the credentials that the state experts have.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Or have testified as an expert in trial as many times. So maybe they're looking for people a little bit more experience. It's not all nefarious. They're trying to do the best job that they can, so you have to give them that. But they can't just they can't just spend the money willy-nilly. They have to provide receipts, as does the prosecutor. That's why Nick, if you remember back when this all first started, he went asking for $5,000. He had to go in front of the county commissioners just for $5,000. And that was to hire somebody to help with all the paperwork, 5 years worth of paperwork. So I can see the defense's dilemma there. But still, they accepted the case. They knew how much they were getting paid. They know the rules. They're just trying to test the waters. Like Nick said, I said this a couple weeks ago too. They're doing this not so much to taint the jury, but to put the feelers out there to see if everybody's biting on it, and enough people are.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah, what they're trying to do with social media is absolutely working.
You got another super chat. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I'm noticing when you mentioned it. So real quick, one of the questions was, we're jumping all around. What did they find? If they found anything in the Wabash River, what did they find? Mary asked, was it a phone? So what do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Frank.
You're muted, Frank. He's like, what the hell?
Honestly, I don't think they found anything. Honestly, I don't. Well, we would have done heard about it by now.
Thank you, Phil. Ruckus, what do you think?
I think they found something specific that combined with what they had led them to Richard Allen. It may not have been in, Keegan Kline that put him on that. He just happened to be at Grissom Air Force Base during that time. And they did a second search on 18 on the bridge heading out west of Delphi over the Tippecanoe River.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just 2 or 3 guys. It was FBI agents and everything else there. So
Frosty was just talking about that in chat.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
What's
But
up, Delphi dummies?
we don't know what they found, if anything, but I'm confident that they did find something. And my opinion is that it did come from Keegan Kline. Him telling them where to look and stuff like that.
I think so too. And I watched a thing about cell phone recovery, and companies are able to retrieve a cell phone that's been underwater for 5 years and pull the data from it now. So yeah, you could Google that. There's a couple things on YouTube about like data recovery and just the things that they've made, the strides that they've made with it. I've heard other people say maybe a knife or something like that. Well, I think it's more practical that you would get rid of a phone throwing it off a bridge than a knife.
And you got to understand too, cell phones, if you break one open, there's a lot of gold in it. It's not very much gold, but there's a lot of gold in it, and gold does not rust.
Yeah. That's why a lot of
those
people buy them
natural
parts.
earth magnets too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But there's a company that does most of the stuff for the FBI. I saw a special on, I think it was on Nova. And the owner of the company said, I've been doing this for 16 years. And we've had phones that have been under thousands of feet of water. All kinds of things in the snow, in the mountains. And we've been able to get all the data, retrieve all the data from it. He said there's only been one phone that we could not retrieve data from. And that was from a plane wreck. And the phone ended up in a pile of jet fuel that was burning.
And see, and gold burns.
And they weren't able to pull anything off of that. But, the whole thing with did Abby have a phone? We don't know that yet. Dude, I'm still baffled how they didn't get Libby's phone. Why was Libby's phone left there like that? To me, that baffles me. That tells you what a hot mess it was. The adrenaline, it wasn't planned very well.
Do you think it's possible that he didn't know that he was being filmed by them? He didn't think he was being filmed. The phone starts ringing because we're getting closer to 3:15, 3:30. The phone starts ringing. Maybe it's Derek. Hey, I'll be there in a couple to pick you up. He doesn't know how to shut the phone off because he's an older guy and he's just not proficient with phones. He puts it under their body and gets out of there so you can't hear. What do you think? I've heard people mention that. I think that's plausible.
Now,
it was under her foot, allegedly. Now, from what I understand, the phone was under Libby, not Abby.
Yeah, under Libby's phone, under
Abby. My understanding is it was under Abby. At first, we heard it was under Libby. Then, as more and more time went by, it came about that it was under Abby, actually. Now,
I've only, until the defense put out their memo, I've only heard that it was under Libby.
And then, as far as him noticing if Libby was filming him, I don't know any person that wouldn't notice a teenage girl sitting there like this with her phone, pointing right at you.
Yeah, I've thought of that before, and kids are into their phones no matter what age they are. So even 7 years ago, that wasn't different. And to parallel that a little bit, I always wondered if the 3 girls that saw him that said he looked in a hurry, they all gave different descriptions. They're at the trails. They're doing exactly what Libby and Abby were doing. Their faces are probably in their phones. They probably look up for a quick second. Maybe they all see something different. Maybe one notices a little bit more. But to me, that could explain why, they saw different things. Imagine these young girls out there, everyone's taking pictures, their faces are probably in the phone. And I guess you can use that as defense too and say, well, how could they know what he looked like then? And while we're talking about this, what do you think about the blue eye comment, Ruckus and Frank? Do you think that was bullshit put out by LE? This guy didn't have blue eyes, or do you think one of the witnesses actually?
I've been saying that from day one. It was a ploy to make him think they were looking for somebody with brown eyes when they were actually looking for somebody with blue eyes.
Oh, you guys are awesome tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, you got a few of them. I didn't
Oh yeah, you sure do, man.
Now. You guys are too much. Phil saying enjoy the trip. Appreciate it, everyone. Rock, what do you think about the blue eyes thing? That comment that they made.
I haven't seen law enforcement take a witness statement and change it, because obviously the witness would say, no, that's not what I said. You know, it's kind of like this muddy, bloody thing that we're dealing with.
Right.
Say they came back. Unfortunately, there's been so much time between when the crime happened and the arrest happened, and now it's been 7 years. So you know, I've said this over and over again. Eyewitnesses are not reliable at all. People that are put in jail that are innocent, 90% of that time is because of eyewitness accounts were inaccurate or they changed their eyewitness account. So, you know, there's people who spend decades in prison over an eyewitness account that turns out was false. So eyewitnesses are not reliable at all. And the sketches as well. I don't know. The sketch holds no weight to me. That's just a tool for law enforcement.
Did you see? I posted a short today, and it was something. And one of the weird things, like sometimes in Delphi, I go on side quests, right? I was out to prove that they never said non-secular, Robert Ives. I was out to prove that he never said that.
Well, and that's a crock of shit, too. Sorry.
I can't.
He said it. I heard it.
Yeah. I can't prove that he. Not only can I not prove that he never said it, I'm pretty sure now that he did say it. Even
he did say
it. He did say it.
He didn't, but it's scrubbed. You can't find
it. It is.
And I told you two are among like 15 other people that I really trust that have told me, Kev, I 100% heard him say it. I heard him say it.
We've watched the interview a million times to keep going back to making sure we were hearing what he was saying about non-secular.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people at that time didn't understand what non-secular was. And we had to keep going back, and all of a sudden it was gone. And then I even contacted Robert Ives, and he got back to me.
Yeah, he got back to you. I sent him a message. He never even he opened it. He opened it, but he never got back to me. Thank you, Amelia.
And he completely denied it.
That's one of them Delphi side quests. Like you get on, and like maybe it doesn't really matter, but you just want to know, like the guy that said the girls were found in the water. What were they saying? It was John Weaver.
Yeah.
Weaver. And I'm like, no, there has to be a John Weber. We think he said John Weaver, but he actually said John Weber. I actually talked to people from Delphi to ask how the Weavers pronounced their last name. Like that's how deep I went into it. And I was wrong. You know, it must be a real guy named John Weaver.
There
like
was.
Chicken, not Weber, like the property that's, you know, adjacent to where the girls were found. But it's just one of them Delphi side quest things you get on. Mommy Wolverine mentioned above that she's hearing that Baldwin is reaching out to Dateline.
Really?
So whether true or not, I don't know where she heard that or not, but that's interesting. He wouldn't be able to say anything right now, right?
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, absolutely no.
It would be a mistake. I'll be back in a second, but it would be a mistake if they reached out to him. His thing should have said, "Listen, no comment until after the trial." But if he's got something set up, I mean, I don't think that's breaking the rules. It's probably not smart to tell people you did that.
Yeah, that would be really stupid if you did that way. But David obviously thinks probably Richard Allen is innocent. The Fran crew will be stunned. I've never heard of the Fran crew. That's kind of cool, like the fan crew. Well, David, depending, I'm not really sure, but if you go by the court docket, we don't got too long to wait. Will something happen in the meantime? Will they plead? Will they delay? Will whatever? I don't know, but hopefully we get a resolution here soon.
Let me get to Sleuthy Goosey. She's asking if I heard anything in the hearing. Baldwin telling Westerman he had discussions with Dateline. No, there was no discussion about Dateline whatsoever in the hearing.
Yeah, Mommy Wolverine's still in the chat. She could. I'm pretty sure that's who said it above. She could mention where that was.
But some of these documents that have been put out this week, people have been making it appear that they're transcribed. You know, all Nick was doing was responding to the defense's filings.
Right.
Okay, so he wasn't saying, "Hey, this is what was talked about." No, he's saying this is the evidence that we're going on. So he's basically responding to their questions and their assertions. I've seen a lot of people that are like, "Well, I was there and I didn't hear them say anything about that." Well, because they didn't.
Okay,
that's not what he's saying. He's not saying that it happened in court during testimony.
Right.
He's saying, I'm answering their assertions, what they're saying happened.
She asked me again, so it was Nick and his proposed order for the contempt thing. True, but what they basically did through that whole contempt thing was all about screenshots from YouTubers and people like that. That's what the contempt was all about. And this iCloud between Westerman and whoever the damn thing was about. It was nothing to do with Dateline. It was all about screenshots to leaks. That was what it was all about.
Well, Dateline was mentioned. I saw somewhere, I think it was Nick that put it out. That
okay. Wow. That's so Mommy Wolverine, man. That's where she got that from. Okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It was never mentioned in the courtroom.
Wasn't mentioned in court, but it was mentioned in a filing somewhere or something.
Yeah, but the filing, this is my point. This is how shit gets so bent. The filing never said, here's a transcript of what they said in court. No, he's saying that here's what we know.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, they're saying this stuff. They're trying to lay a foundation, and here's our answer to that foundation. He's already reached out to Dateline. He told somebody that. Now, it doesn't mean that it's true. Do you know what I mean? This is just what the prosecution is saying. And this is the part of the trial that I hate, all of this litigation, which has nothing to do with the trial.
Okay, now, I will say this. There were quite a few sidebars that we didn't get to hear what was going on. It could have been mentioned in a sidebar, and the judge said no.
They wouldn't. They're not really allowed, Frank, to talk about anything that's talked about in the sidebar, in filings or anything like that. That's what happens at the sidebar stays at the sidebar usually.
So I do not recall one bit of Dateline being mentioned in open court whatsoever.
I haven't heard anyone say that. All the shows I've watched from people in court, regardless of where they fall in Richard Allen's guilt, I haven't heard that. The first I heard it mentioned was here in the chat where Mommy Wolverine brought it up. Because so I didn't even know the other part.
If I would have known or heard anything remotely to that, you best believe I'd have been talking about it on my live about it.
I think a lot of people would have been. That's like your ears are perking up like, whoa, Dateline, what? I think everyone would have been, I assume, talking about it. Big fish, small pond. Nick doesn't ask the court. He has a budget. Yeah. So what you're saying is true. And what the guys were saying before, everyone's seen that video probably by now where he had to go to, I don't know if it was the county commissioner meeting and he asked him for $5,000 more.
Oh, he actually went $5,000. Then he had to go back for $10,000.
So instead of being like, we need expert witnesses for this, he said, well, he needs filing papers or uploading papers. It's him and Evans and maybe one other girl or something that are doing all the, uploading all this shit, first of all, for the discovery,
well, that's Steve Mullen is doing a lot of that too. They even questioned him on the stand about how he was doing all that, uploading everything to like flash drives. And
no offense to Steve Mullen, but they got to have someone a little more tech savvy than Steve Mullen out there, don't they? Uploading this paper. I'm not saying the guy doesn't know computers. But
after the shit that happened at the police department, yeah, you would think so.
Oh, that's our computer guy. Come on, he's a retired chief. He's our computer guy.
Right. Like I said, you would think so after what happened at the police department when he was chief with the DVR.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
But we'll get all of these transcripts. I think just let me say this. I think them charging a ridiculous amount for those transcripts is crazy. I mean, it's just crazy.
Sleuthy Goosey, you could send that to Susan Hendricks. She'd probably love to see that.
I don't know where she is in the chat, but I must be behind you here. But she has a question here. or comment, they are looking to continue to pay the experts they have already retained. So do you mean that was that what they just filed? What I wanted to ask you before, based on that too, Ruckus and Frank, was this the first time the defense has officially requested funds?
No.
In court? So they've done this before? This has been going on?
This is the second or third time. The last one, it was an ex parte.
Okay.
And she denied it.
Okay, I got you.
Well, you have to listen. I don't agree with this crowdfunding stuff, but because we should all get the same. It should be an even playing field.
I totally agree.
They should get the experts that they want. All they have to do is show why they need them.
But we don't know the reasoning why she denied him. That's the thing, and that's going to keep sealed because that's an ex parte thing.
Because experts are expensive, man. I mean, they're $300-400 an hour just to put the reports together. Then if they have to testify, they're getting like $500-600 an hour plus a per diem, which means they get they pay for their plane, their hotel, their food, all that. So there's a lot involved with it. And to be honest with you, there's 3 experts, I believe, that they've already started paying out of their pocket, which they'll be reimbursed for. And they're not even that much. I think the largest one so far is like $3,000 or something like that. But they want 2 additional experts to combat what the state has. So, and like I said before, they can cross-examine those experts. That doesn't mean that, that they're out of the game if they don't have experts. But they're just trying to find people that are qualified and have testified enough, to even the playing field. I don't agree with this whole crowdfunding thing, though. And I'm not saying that on the side of that people who donated shouldn't have donated. No, I think that honestly that the court should have had a hearing or whatever and looked at why they need these experts, why they feel that they need them. And take it from there. But Big Fish is absolutely right. Nick gets paid. His budget comes from the county commissioners. That's why he had to go in front of the county commissioner.
Right.
A bunch of friggin' yahoos.
From my understanding,
if he gets paid money or not.
The 2.1 million for both sides, and it's basically split down the middle, or so much goes to defense and so much goes to the prosecutions. But the prosecutor has to go to the county commissioner for it. And then the defense has to go through the court to get it. So
yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't seem right. There should be a pool of experts. To be honest with you, just like they have a pool of attorneys for public defenders if they need somebody that's death penalty qualified.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing.
Should be the same thing. Now we all know, experts are gonna. They'll be on the defense side or the prosecution side, whoever's paying.
Thank you, Miranda.
Whoever's paying. Unfortunately, they should just give their honest opinion.
Nobody's perfect.
Otherwise, if they're not saying what the defense or the prosecutor wants to hear, then they won't have them testify and they won't use their reports. But they still have to pay them.
The crowdfunding thing's weird to me too. I mentioned to somebody in one of my comments about Hennessy made a remark about Judge Gall has to release funds to pay him. I'm surmising what he said. Well, I'm like, well, what the fuck is he involved with it for? Then the person came onto one of my comments and said, no, he was just joking. He didn't mean that. Because I'm like, does he really think he's involved like this? Now, if he walks in the court, here's my question. He walks in the court with a Richard Allen matter. Can a judge be like, Mr. Hennessy, can I help you? What are you doing here? Mm-hmm. You didn't file an appearance. You're not an attorney for Richard Allen. So why are you in the court, right? I'm not saying he's going to do that, but just to be clear, he represents attorney Baldwin, right? And that's it.
No, he represents both of them.
Does he represent Rozzi too?
Yes, he represented both of them at the hearing back a couple weeks back.
Yeah, Baldwin hired him though. Initially, right. It was just Baldwin.
And then the other thing was when they were on the defense diaries, and he didn't really leak anything that I don't think any of us didn't know kind of already, but he's probably not under a gag order though, right? He represented Baldwin on a case where Baldwin was in contempt of court or whatever they were going to try to get him for. But he's not under a gag order for the Delphi case, though, right? Hennessy?
See, the way I look at it is he's under a case inside of another case. You see what I'm saying?
It's such a weird thing for this to be happening. No one's really sure, probably, then, huh?
And that's the way I'm looking at it. And so if he's involved in the case inside of a major case, I would think that he would be part of the gag order.
Okay, I got what you're saying.
Well, because he was defending them for the leak, I mean, he's been privy to information that I believe would cover him under the umbrella of the gag order.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know how that works. But this is what cracks me up, right? Hennessy should get paid. Not by the state, not by the county. He should get paid by Baldwin, the person who hired him.
Yeah, I agree.
But here's the thing, and this is just my opinion. Just look at the results. He did not do a very good job.
No.
But he still gets paid. That's how attorneys work. You lose, defense attorneys lose 80 some odd % of the time, and they get paid the same amount.
Right.
So, they don't get any incentive.
They're basically on a salary, just like the prosecutor is. They know they're going to get paid by the state. See, I know
I'm talking even if they were private, Frank. If they get hired privately and you lose and go to prison, you don't get money off of what you owe.
Right. I mean, I've known quite a few people that were attorneys, and one especially, his name is Dominic, a good friend of mine. And I said, dude, why don't you have your private practice by now? And he said, well, having a private practice, you would have to use a collection agency to try to collect your money. He said, in the public defender's office, I know I'm getting paid every week. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Sense.
Yeah, so that's how he explained it to me.
Here's a question for you, and I saw this in the last couple of days, and from like the profiling stuff, I would find this hugely interesting if this was true. She's asking Ruckus, but Frank, you too. How about the rumor that Kathy Allen using her maiden name when signing in at the viewing or the funeral? Is this just a rumor or verified by anybody? Thanks. Whether it has or nothing to do with the case or does or not, I think it's very interesting. If you guys heard this, and what do you think about it?
I haven't heard anything about it.
I just heard this in the last couple of days.
That's the first time I've heard about it.
I heard you talking about it, or somewhere in a chat somewhere. But
might have been in a Discord.
I thought about making a call, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave that be.
Certainly, it's one of the things to talk about in Delphi, because there's always shit just dripping off of the main case. So you have like a pot of soup on a stove. That's the main case. That's the nuts and bolts of it. That's the evidence, the lawyers, the courtroom, and then everything that spills out. People, you could talk about that too. Oh, look what spilled out today. Look, I just think stuff like that's interesting, and people ask the questions. So,
you got a few more super chats, Kev. You might. If you wait till the end, you'll be here 20 minutes thanking people for their.
You guys are incredible. Holy hell. Solar Chef, $25.
Nice.
And Miranda, I said hi to you real quick. Po Buddy's Nerfect, which is another awesome name. So if you're going to the walk, Po Buddy's Nerfect, make sure you come up and say, hey, don't say I'm Jim or I'm Jan. Hey, I'm Po Buddy's Nerfect. So I already told my girlfriend that people might come up and introduce themselves, and they're not their real names. Her name isn't Rescue All the Dogs, or his name is, that's their YouTube names. But you guys are phenomenal tonight. Holy hell.
Yeah, it's really a good community.
I like
for the most part.
And you know what? I like our little pack that we're in. And there might be, you have a friend on YouTube that doesn't talk to someone else on YouTube, and it ain't the end of the world. You know what I mean? And we've talked privately and publicly, you got to be onward and upward, and let other people do whatever it is they're going to do. Work the case, do what needs to be done, and the rest, I think, will kind of take care of itself.
Now, what do you think about? I know we knew about this last week, but now it's like official. The judge said, "Yes, Nick, you can go get those
medical records." Hell yeah,
yeah.
I was so happy to see that today.
Now, I don't blame the defense for trying to keep those out.
Well, they're the ones that filed in their damn their supplemental witness list, possibly having these people.
What's in those records? What's in the records that the defense doesn't want the prosecution to see? What would be your guesses?
The doctors. To him admitting to the doctors and why he did it.
I think so too, but Ruckus, what do you think? Think it's the same thing, or?
We don't know how many times or what. I mean, the word confession. I mean, it could be anything. Where the hell those balloons?
You got balloons coming out of places. What the hell you got going on down there?
I don't know what happened there. Is it because I did this?
Yeah, but we ain't been smoking. We ain't smoked enough if we were seeing balloons.
But the word confession is, did he just, is this his confession to his wife? Honey, I did it. And that's it. You know, so it depends. From what I understand, he confessed to inmates, to correctional officers, medical staff, psychiatric staff. He confessed to all of those people, or made incriminating statements, because things get misconstrued. People will use words that they really don't mean. And we'll get to this in a minute, but it's just like this geofencing. You know, it was basically a cell dump. It was an AT&T cell dump. It wasn't a satellite. It was a cell dump. So they took information that they have off the phones. Like I said, phones have a little chip in them called beacon. So if you drive by or go near a store, you'll get a commercial from that store or an ad or something like that. It's because of that beacon device. But those are only usually a couple of 100 yards. But what Nick explained, and I did a video on it as well, is how that works. There's so much involved, and there's so much information to read. So this here, I agree that they need to get an expert on how to read that information.
Oh, you're talking about the geofencing, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't really geofencing, Frank. It was a cell tower dump,
Right.
basically, coupled with mobile data. So that's that beacon stuff. So when they say that the GPS is used, it's not GPS location satellites. You know, they have those little GPS units you can carry if you go hiking.
Yeah.
They have special chips in them. They have special software uploaded into them to pinpoint. So unless your phone is equipped with that software or information, like that Life 360, you can put that on your phone. You can see where your family is, and you can actually see them driving down the road, because that piece of software hooks up to the GPS satellites.
Very good. Yeah. So basically, would you say that the term geofencing might have just been the incorrect term that they used there? Or would you think?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes people group things together. You know, it's not like they were able to wrap a small area and say, yeah, these 3 cell phones were in and around the crime scene during when we say or think or know the crime occurred, when it's impossible to say that.
Right.
The way that they drew that data. And that's why we haven't heard anything about that. If they had 3 people in and around the crime scene area, one of those phones would be Libby's, because these are not people we're talking about. These are phones, cell pings. One person could have had 2 phones in their pocket. Mr. Steve has a different phone for every fucking app that he uses. He has no technical savvy whatsoever. So if people had multiple phones in their pocket or whatever, you know, that could change the whole thing. And again, the Fourth Amendment comes into play. You know, if you're in a vehicle, you have an expectance of privacy. Jesus Christ. Expectation. How's that? So they really can't, unless you get out of that vehicle, because your vehicle is a conveyance of your home.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extension of your home. But there's different things that, and law enforcement does it too. I mean, it just is what it is. When you hear cell dump, you think that that's like a geofencing thing. Whereas cell dump is when they take your phone and they dump the information out of your specific phone. That's a cell dump, taking the data out of your phone.
Would you call the other thing a tower dump then?
Yeah, cell tower dump. And I've said it before, that's an administrative subpoena. But here's what's interesting too, is that tower the tower near Ron Logan's house?
Mm-hmm.
And the other one's way in town, on the other side of town. But that one in near Ron Logan's house is owned, operated, and run by Verizon. And they did they got the cell phone information from AT&T. So who was using AT&T? Because maybe AT&T has a dish on that tower, but that tower is not owned and operated by AT&T. It's owned and operated by Verizon. It even has a call sign.
That's like very interesting, Aaron. I didn't realize that. I know a little bit about towers. We have two in our town, but we learned like firefighting. If it catches on fire, basically back up because it's going to kill you if you get too close to it. But we have it's a T-Mobile tower, which I have Sprint. It was old, so I've had Sprint for my whole life. It's 25 years. So it's a T-Mobile tower, so I get great service. Other people in different parts of the city don't get service. But I know that that's a T-Mobile tower, but it doesn't just put out T-Mobile airways. Anyone that has a phone, it bounces off of there. And I'm in a bigger town, so we have them, quite a few in town. But that's one of the things I learned. So I get what you're saying with that. That was not owned by AT&T, but it's an AT&T phone dump. Am I saying that right?
It's an AT&T cell tower dump.
But AT&T doesn't run the tower, Verizon does? Is that what you said?
Yeah, and that's not a huge part of it, Kev. The reason I mentioned that is because they didn't mention Verizon. Maybe AT&T they rent the dishes as well. If nobody goes in A&T bounces off that dish, what's the use in paying? So they do it by the data that's used off of that dish.
I got you. So it doesn't guarantee that that's a AT&T cell phone.
Right. It could be anybody. I'm just curious as to why, since that cell phone tower is owned by Verizon right there, why AT&T is the one that they subpoenaed.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about the cost before. And Ruckus, I think I asked you about this. Maybe you.
It's $2,000.
Have you ever heard of a cost like this for a court transcript?
Yes.
Frank, you
haven't.
Yes.
What kind of case was that?
It was the Tabitha Chuck Raines case when I was working with Marv. I was trying to get the murder trial transcripts on one of the suspects out of Hamilton County. I actually talked to the transcriber and all that, and he said it's going to cost you over $12,000 for a 2-week trial.
Yeah, well, this was a 1-day hearing, so yeah, if it's 2 weeks, I mean, shit, that's $25,000.
But we've already called up there to Allen County. He said it would cost over $2,000 to get the transcripts.
So is that like an Indiana thing? Does that happen in other states? I've never heard of it.
They do it. They charge by page.
Wow.
It's usually not that much, though.
What if you wanted to get them emailed to you? Does it?
You still have to pay for it. You still have to pay for it.
But the thing is that we could all chip in, like Bob Mata did and Sleuthy Goosey and those guys, and pitch in and get the transcripts, and then we can do what we want with them. We can't sell them, but we can make copies. We can put them on our page. We can do what we want. Everybody else gets them for free. So it's just a matter of workload. They don't want 20,000 people asking them for these transcripts. Right. They just don't have the staff.
So why don't they just post them on like their court page?
Because that would make sense, and we won't have none of that.
And another thing people need to understand, I've researched this quite extensively. In the state of Indiana, it costs over $400,000 to prosecute a death penalty case. And the state does not want to pay that kind of money. And that's why I believe Nick has not thrown it on the table yet. He's just sitting back because he probably knows the defense is going to come to him sooner or later, wanting to talk a plea or a deal or change a plea or something.
Okay, I
he
get
sees it coming. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he sees it.
I was going to ask you that before. I'm glad you. That was a question that I missed. I'm glad you think. What do you think? The question. I don't know if you're reading it before the question from earlier, but someone had a question: is why didn't they throw the death penalty option on the table yet, Ruckus? What do you think's the strategy from the prosecution there?
Well,
like Frank said,
there's only one strategy for not putting the death penalty on the table, and that is to plea deal. If they'd have put it on the table right from Jump Street, they could say, "Hey, we'll take this off." That's usually how plea deals get made. Is all right. We'll take the death penalty off,
and that's a lot. See, over the last few years, we've had several police officers shot and killed in the line of duty, and all the death penalties were put on the table. Within a week or two, they took it off the table because the defendant changed his plea.
Huh.
Yeah.
And
yes, Sleuthy, I've got Twitter.
I posted my Twitter in here, but I'm so far behind in the chat, I don't even know where it is because I was going to pull it up.
Twitter for what?
She
has a couple things to send over.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She says it's easier for her to send it on Twitter. I don't know.
Now, Unsolved Crimes Resolved, I think her channel name is, I think her name is Allie. But
was she the one that was on the interview with Mata?
Yes.
Tennessee. Okay.
Yes.
I know what about.
She commented on I put up some of the filings, and she commented on this. Somebody asked about the funding, the crowdfunding, and from what I understood was I know they were trying to up it. They were trying to do it up to like $45,000 or $55,000, which they can. I mean, I don't have an issue with that. If people are willing to donate to that and it's being used to level the playing field, fine. But from what I understood was the funds couldn't be released because it wasn't in Hennessy's name. They put it in Hennessy's name, but then they needed specific information from him.
Excuse me.
To release those funds. Well, she got back with me today and said that no, that is indeed not the case, that everything's fine now, that it was because for some reason they got to use Stripe. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar.
Yes, yeah.
Is that the coffee? Buy me a coffee. That's Stripe?
Yeah. They're the company that takes the money from one person, send it to another, and they take a cut out of the transaction. So it had something to do with that, I believe. But she said it's back up and running. You can donate, and
I saw another one. It was actually a GoFundMe with Richard Allen's jail picture on it. The last time I saw it was like 3 or 4 days ago, and it had like 30,000 raised.
I don't think GoFundMe will do something like that.
They tried to do one for him early on, but they wouldn't let him because of the rules for it. Unless someone did a fake one, because they shut it down, and whatever attorneys found this one, they were able to find it. And I said this before in one of my lives or one of my videos I did. I think Richard Allen's guilty. I'm about 85% on it, but I don't think people that are sending money to that fund are necessarily bad people. Some people are like, how could you send any money to that? Look, it's their money. They want to send me money, you money, Donald Trump, Joe Biden money. It's their money. I don't think they're bad people. I just think that we believe two different things of what's going on, or one side or the other doesn't understand as well. But I don't want to attack those people. I mean, I don't think any of us want to attack those people. They're putting their money where their mouth is. I have a level of respect for that. They're not just talking shit. Even though I disagree with them in theory, I guess, but they're doing. But here's something that surprised me, and I'm not knocking the fund at all. Didn't you expect them to have more money? I thought there's a lot of people on YouTube, and I'm like, man, they're going to hit like 50 grand in a week. And I don't know a lot about fundraising or stuff like that, but I anticipated that thing to really be high. I thought it would.
It'll get there. I mean, it's picking up pace. I didn't think it would go anywhere.
Oh,
To
so
be
you were
honest
opposite as me then. I thought it was going to
Yeah.
go high. You didn't think it was going to go anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, it shows resolve, but dude, it's setting a bad precedence. If other attorneys feel like they have to do things like this, the American people should not have to pay to keep the justice system balanced.
Well, we talked about this before. I think it was me and you somewhere, maybe on a live or something. Do you think that the Delphi case is going to forever change the way law enforcement reacts or uses or doesn't use social media and platforms like YouTube? Because this has affected the case. How, to what extent, we don't know. I don't mean the people that are writing letters, because that's not getting in the court. We see that pretty much doesn't matter for the legal system. But, this one's sending information to this one. They're accusing this guy of this. They're bringing YouTubers to court. Do you think that there's going to be any kind of change or backlash, or do you think the next case will be crazier because this YouTube angle, the social media angle? What do you guys think about that?
It's just where we are now. It's 2024. Unfortunately, law enforcement, they have PIOs, most agencies, public information officers. In this case, they're basically using Doug Carter for that because it's such a big case, high profile case. But most of them use PIOs, and we're not hearing a whole lot coming from the prosecution side. It's all reactive. They're not being proactive with anything. The defense is being proactive, but they're supposed to be.
Honestly, I think social media is a good thing in its own way, because that I've been looking into the Jordan Sofer case and talked with the chief of police up there in Wabash on quite a few occasions. And I told him, I said, look, just as well as I do, that people will not talk to police. It's just the way it is in our society these days. And I said, the best thing it's got going for you guys is that these people can come to one of us incognito, and we can relay the information to you. But then again, you got some people out here that's doing it all wrong the wrong way with it, presenting stuff on their shows and things like that. That's what gives us a bad name. And I think that's why a lot of these prosecutors and stuff like that kind of when it comes to that stuff. So,
well, the thing is now, excuse me, because of this crowdfunding thing, I've never heard of it before, right?
Neither have I.
But we don't have any say as Americans what they do with that money. That's their money. They raised it. You know what I mean? So we don't need receipts what they're doing with this money that they're raising. Only money that they take from the state, taxpayers' money. This is not taxpayers' money, so they can do what they want with it. Quite literally, they can. So that shouldn't be an issue with anybody about this crowdfunding thing. Is, well, what are they doing with that money? They can just say it's none of your goddamn business what we're doing with that money.
Yeah.
They don't have to show receipts.
Big fish, small pond. I would love to know what the profile said. I don't know if we're ever going to get to see it, even if this case is over. This might be one of the things where, for whatever reason, they hide the profile. Is it because they were wrong, or I don't know? But I would love to see the profile. I agree 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the other thing I'd like to know eventually, maybe we don't deserve it, but it'd be cool. I want to know how their investigation worked. What led them to Bicycle Bridge Road? Then what led them to Logan's? Was there search warrants in between there that we don't know about? What led them there? Like, what was their path? We go from this to this. Okay, we think it's this guy. We think it's so-and-so for 2 years. Now something happens over here. I would just love to know, like, their timeline of investigation. We get there day one, we think it's Ron Logan. We think it's someone in the search party or whatever, and how it just, so-and-so gave us this tip, and just to see the whole loop and the whole path that they took. Because it was like an arc. It's like a movie arc. It's a 5-year investigation. And I think stuff like that to me is really, really interesting. Like, how'd they get from one point to the other?
Dude, this whole case has been surreal. Starting with the whole misfiling, misplacing, whatever they did, get him, Blaze. Whatever they did with that initial statement that Richard Allen made, okay, that doesn't sit well with me that happened. And now this click thing, this whole time frame thing doesn't matter. Now he's bouncing up and down in his seat saying that, well, yeah, I tried to give them misinformation and they said they were going to give me information that would put me at ease and they never did. And all of this stuff. Well, he did that investigation back in 2017, 18, and then he doesn't mention it again until 2023.
Yeah,
why, why isn't he screaming from the rooftops, hey guys, you need to be looking at these dudes? You follow me? He's in law enforcement at that point.
He basically tried to throw Holman under the bus at the hearing. I was like, whoa. Really?
And that wafts to me is personal, and I'm not saying it is personal vendetta, where like maybe Holman and them guys should have handled Click better, went to him and said, hey, Major Click, I know what you're giving us, but let me tell you kind of what we have and what direction we're going. We know it isn't your guys because X, Y, and Z, but maybe with everything going on, they just never got back to him. And he just never heard anything again until there was an arrest with Richard Allen. And he's like, oh, what the hell happened here?
Well, according to Click during the hearing, he said that he I can't remember if he said he had a phone call with him or what he did. He sent a bunch of information over, basically pointing the finger at Van Landers and Odinism and all that crap. And Click said that Holman responded and said, we're not interested in that. That's what was said in court.
Get your Ron Logan goats are going quick.
God. Hey, what happened to the horses, man?
The major cows.
The chickens went fast. They went fast.
Looks like Laura asked the question. Somebody just said to look at Laura's question. Okay, Ruckus, can you discuss this payment issue? When you work for the state, the processing of that takes months. For everyone working, they will get paid. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've worked for both the state and the county. And listen, if they screw up your pay, if they overpay you, it comes out of your next check.
They don't.
If they underpay you, if they screw up somewhere and underpay you, it may take 6 months.
Wait a while. Yeah.
To get it. But this, I mean, and you would think that this shit would be a little bit smoother. I mean, we've only had this system in place since 1780, is it?
Yeah, but see, when I first got into this case, I was having to call like the auditor's office, because I wanted to get the background on Ron Logan's property and all that crap like that. And they were telling me this was 3 years ago that they still haven't caught up to speed on the computer systems in that county. They still haven't got everything.
And that's ludicrous, though.
And they still haven't got everything transferred from hard copy and all that stuff onto the. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And here it's 2022, 2023, and you guys still ain't caught up.
Laura, I don't think it's going to go to trial. I stand by that. I still think he's going to plead out. But if it does go to trial, then I want it to be fair. I want it to be more than fair. I want them to go overboard, giving him every opportunity. Because that way there, when they find him guilty, nobody's going to be able to say they got screwed over. There you go. Right there. That's who this is about.
Every show that I do, guys, I always present this picture before I end my show to remind everybody this is why we're all here. Nothing else matters but these two young ladies right here. Period.
And I think I was talking to you about this, Frank, on the phone. I don't think it was during a show, but in a weird way, you just think about like, what are you doing? You're for any case that you're on, and Libby and Abby are looking down. Are they happy to see, you debating people properly and you trying to get to the bottom of things? Are they happy when people share crime scene photos on their page? Well, no. So kind of look at it that way. Like, you know, I want their family to be proud of what I'm doing. I want them to be proud of what I'm doing. We're not going to solve cases. I'm not a goddamn Columbo or a detective here, but spreading the word, doing the good work.
But we do have matter of fact, we got 2 Kojaks up on the panel here tonight. But one's got a gray, whatever thing that is on his lip there.
Squirrel tail. I had a squirrel on my motorcycle and his tail stuck on my face.
I think that's important, though, that you put that picture up, Frank. And I just wanted to say that because I try to, like, you know, make the family proud. Doing the Kimmy Krim case here from a Key Sport, you know, dealing with the family. You don't want to do anything that's going to embarrass them or you know, look bad.
Right.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, we do what we do. But Laura makes a good point here. It's a double-edged sword.
Yep.
None of our opinions matter to trial. That's true. They don't matter in court. And as we could see the way the judge and the court was handled, to be perfectly honest with you, it doesn't appear that YouTube matters in court either. However, in these chats and things like that, we're all kind of prognosticators, not just creators, but people to come in the chat. I think this, I think that. We exchange ideas. So in the court of YouTube, our opinions matter, but in the court of the real court, I don't think anything we do or say, so to speak, or certainly any letters that we write are going to change anything in the court of law. That's my opinion.
It's definitely not going to. None of these letters matter. These recent letters saying that, you know, the judge has to have transparency and needs to show this case without a reason. Their reason is all the same, which tells me they're all coming from the same pool of thought, is that it has to be transparent. You know, these folks are coming from the Real Housewives of California crowd. You know, they just like this drama bullshit. They can't live without. It's not about transparency, because I know one of them that wrote a letter to the judge saying there has to be transparency was at the hearing on the 18th. She's local. She lives there. She can go to the trial, but yet she felt compelled to write to the judge and basically tell the judge, you know, what her job is. And she's wrong. The judge does not have to have cameras in the courtroom.
Sorry that I was laughing and clapping because I saw a post on here or in the chat that said Lone Pony said I was just annoyed that Nick used meters in regards to the cell phones. I had to look that shit up.
Yeah, like the metric system.
Yeah.
What the hell is he using a metric system for?
Because that's probably what the information was sent to him that way.
The only reason us Americans know the metric system is because of drugs.
We use metrics. You use metrics when you use tools.
Yeah.
But you know, none of our opinions matter, right? I try and vet everything, and I try and give facts, and then I branch off of that with my opinion and my theory and what I think is going to happen. I'm very confident when I say something. I'm saying that I know it's going to happen. I'm a confident guy. But it doesn't change anything. Nothing that's going to happen in this case. Not a damn thing. The state has the burden. They're behind the 8 ball. Not Richard Allen. Even though I'm positive that he's guilty. He's not behind the 8 ball. He doesn't have to do anything if he doesn't want to. The state has to prove that he did this. Now, do you guys believe that the state has enough evidence to convict this guy?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, there's a good question for the chat. And real quick, Turbo has a great channel, Turbo Time. We were talking about Dr. Core. And from what we understood, the defense didn't want to go with what Dr. Core had to say. Dr. Core was the Terre Haute. I don't know if they call him, we have a coroner here in my county. And if he's called a coroner or medical examiner there, been at it for 45 years, testified at hundreds of trials. So what I heard, and I think what Turbo's getting at here, is they didn't want Dr. Core. They wanted another doctor, not the one who did the actual autopsies on the girls in Terre Haute. But I think Turbo's going along those lines. But go check her channel out. She puts really great stuff out.
Agreed. 100%.
I talked about him the other day in a lot. Actually, I tried to show the thing I have, but it's for some stupid newspaper. You got to like pay money. I thought it was just a Yahoo article.
That shit pisses me off when you start reading an article and it says read more and you click on it.
I went to Yahoo
yeah.
News too, and Yahoo
Right,
News linked me to that because I'm like, well, Yahoo News is free, and I just wanted to share it to say, hey, look, this guy's got 45 years of experience. He's no dummy. Why don't they want to hear what he has to say? And I'm theorizing maybe he's not giving them the right answer, so they don't like what he has to say. But what you were saying before, and Frank does this too, I'll tell you, hey, this is what the information we have. This is the evidence. And then here's my theory. I always try to be big. This is not evidence. This is my theory. This is what I think happened. And then go down the line with it like that. But I'll never try. Like some people will come on and say, this is what happened. This is what happened. None of us really know. You know, the killer, the girls, and maybe the defense team and the prosecution and some of the police. At most, that's all the people that know what really happened right now. You know?
Yeah, it's just like we talk about geofencing and different uses of words. I say I'm confident. Some people think I'm abrasive, arrogant, prick, words like that. I don't mean to come off as like that, but when I've done my research and I make my mind up, I'm confident about it. It's all my theory, it's my opinion. Obviously, I wasn't there, but I'm really confident at what I say. So I don't feel the need to say, okay, here's what I think. Now this
sidebar stays at sidebar.
Now when they put the transcript out, because they put out the transcript from the judge's chambers.
Mm-hmm.
So when they put the transcript out, they may have what's talked about on the sidebar, but the attorneys are not going to put anything in their filing saying, well, just like we talked about at the sidebar, we need to do this, this, and this. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's I just where people were talking in the chat about the price of the documents. That's crazy to me. Like that you don't have some kind of technology where you say, okay, look, we understand it's a big case. We're going to upload it to this website, to our Twitter or whatever, similar to their My Case page, and it'll be up there for anyone who wants to go get it. You could go get it digitally. I guess at some point someone has to upload it all though. You can't use like an AI thing because that screws up what people say. There messes their words up. So someone probably has to sit and punch those keys in for each and every word into the computer, not just a court report or whatever, but into the computer. So that's still, is that what happened then? Is that the unraveling pitched in, and is that how they got the thing and watermarked their thing?
I think it was them, Bob Mata.
Yeah.
There was a
couple folks did.
But they pitched in and got it, right? They all pitched in and got it.
Yeah, I think Sleuthy Goosey pitched in on it as well. And that's fine. I mean, it's smart instead of one person paying.
Oh, yeah. Especially $2,000. Who wants to eat a $2,000 bill for the paper?
To me, it's not that important. I can't see anything.
There's no reason for me to get it because I was there.
Yeah, but what is that gonna change?
Right. It really doesn't change a whole lot at all. I mean,
it's not going to change anything.
I don't think it's going to change anything, but to me, it's interesting as hell. And it's the major click stuff. It really is. I'm just so interested and so intrigued by him as a character in this play, if you will. Was he just mad at the other cops? Would you go this far just because you're mad and it's because like a professional grudge? Or I'm just very interested.
He made it a point to say several times, more than 3 times, that he stopped working this case when his partner got killed.
Yeah.
Hey, Turbo. Yeah, that's the case I was talking about when you said Marv, because when I was working with her, I'm the one who called the court clerk or the court reporter, and he sent me an email back with a quote of $12,000 for the trial transcripts on Tabitha Shuckrain's trial.
It's crazy.
Yep.
But it is what it is. I mean, what you have to pay for everything is nuts. Speeding tickets.
Water.
Yeah.
Water, air at the damn gas station.
If my grandmother or grandfather saw me go into a store and pay $2.50 for a bottle of this, they'd hit me in the back of the head. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall, the first people that talked about this. You know what? We're going to bottle water and sell it. You're an idiot. Yeah. You're an idiot.
Who the hell's going to buy that?
Yeah. Well, we do.
What the
And I
hell?
have a well and it's filtered and I still drink bottled water.
Scrolling through chat.
It jinx. Oh.
What do you got? Is it in chat or did you get a text?
No, she sent me in a text.
Yeah, she texted me something too. You probably got the same thing.
Yeah.
Based
Yeah.
on your reaction.
Oh, damn.
You got it too.
How could you tell?
Goddamn.
Well, do you see what it is under that picture? The comment. Look at the comment.
Oh, I didn't look at the comment.
I did.
Yeah, look at the comment under that picture. That's what that's for. That's why.
What?
Why are those people on that kind of site talking with that kind of person and using that as a platform to promote something? I don't care that they do it. It just
Free
I don't
country.
care.
I don't know.
Right? Absolutely.
There's a couple more questions here. Then we're like at a minute 15, and I want to talk for a couple of minutes about the walk. And you guys have been there before, but here's an interesting one here from David. I think RA's guilty. Are others involved? I think that there's one, probably two, one in like an after the fact cover up type situation, and then the other in like a little bit like in an after the fact cover up situation, but didn't know what happened. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I'm looking at three people. What do you guys think?
It's well known what I think. Yes, there's other people involved.
I have a feeling too, and I think that's the reason why Nick charged him the way he did the first time.
Yeah, I'm hearing that from people now. Now that I kind of understand that makes sense.
Right. And then he was like, well, Richard, if you're not going to tell me who else is involved, you're just going to take the murder charge and the kidnapping charge.
We're turning the screws to you now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, makes sense. So if anyone's going to the walks, I know Friday night, it's the what town is that in? The walk Friday for the girl
Tabitha Shuck.
What?
No, Karina McKirkland. That's in Kokomo.
Kokomo. Okay, that's Friday night. Saturday, Delphi. Sunday was we at the cemetery, which is in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. I understand, right? That works out for me because actually that's all my way home. So it'll take me about 7 hours to get to Lafayette. But
and you know the thing about that is the cemetery is a hop, skip, and a jump from the interstate.
Oh, good. Yeah. I haven't even started like mapping out coming back home yet, but I got to our room out there and then to the to Delphi from Lafayette, and then from Lafayette to the Crown Hill. Crown Hill Cemetery is what it's called. Right?
Yes.
So it'll be my first time being out there. I know Ruckus has been out there. Frank's been out there many times. I wanted to see the lay of the land. I'm going to go with Frank, Frosty, and rescue all the dogs in the morning before people get there. I just want to go around and see. I don't know if I'll be able to get on people's property.
I talked to Becky a couple days ago. The ball season starts on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
And so she's going to be out at the ballpark. And I said, well, we've got some other YouTubers coming into town, and we want to take them around and show them around the town before we actually have to walk. She said, okay. I said, we'll just come up to the park and let you guys meet and all that stuff like that. So
I'd love to get a picture in front of the ballpark sign.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
How cool would that be?
Cool. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, that's awesome. I'd like to do all that stuff, soak it all in, and then,
take you to the office tavern and let you have some hog balls.
Well, I remember
rescue all the dogs is saying Tipton.
I can't eat anything. Oh, Tipton. Yeah, Tipton, I think, is where the walk is, Frank. Maybe is that where
they moved it?
I thought that's what
that's where she was from, was in Kokomo.
Is she maybe buried or put to rest in Tipton or something like that?
Honestly, last I heard, I thought she got what remains they had, she was cremated. So I don't know if they actually buried the ashes or what they've done, because I haven't talked to Jerry in such a long time.
Thank God we got rescue all the dogs in here. You guys would be standing in Kokomo.
Thank you. I had automatically said Kokomo because that's where she was from. So,
and then Randy's page has it all. I know a lot of different people have shared. Honeybee shared stuff. Grizz Mackley Clever shared stuff. Here you go, Randy, right here. The Tipton on the 5th and Saturday, Libby and Abby, 1 o'clock. Floor Girls are also Sunday, also at 1 o'clock. Delphi Saturday, Flora Sunday. So we will.
Yeah, I got 5 more doctor's appointments this week. 3 tomorrow and 2 on Friday.
Jeez.
And then I'm good for another couple weeks.
Tabby.
It's that
Not
yearly
Karina.
thing, man.
Tabby. That's why we screwed it up, Frank. It's Tabby.
Oh, is it Tabby?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Bossy.
Tabitha.
They were having one for Karina too at one point in time.
They might have had one before. I do remember seeing that too, Frank. It might have happened before, maybe after the arrest or something, after they arrested that farmer guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're about an hour 20. It's about 10 to 9. I don't know what you guys got going on tonight.
Pacers and the Cubs are on right now.
The Cubs, baseball on. How about the Pirates being 5-0? I'm not saying that's going to last.
Well, they're picking the Cubs to win the Central. They've already picking the Cubs to win the Central Division.
Yeah,
so.
I think they're playing tough too, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. But I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Look forward to finally meeting you face to face, Frank, and everyone else that's coming out to the walks. I think it'll be a good time. A good time to meet everybody. It's not a vacation trip. It's not a happy trip, but it's like, you get to meet people, exchange ideas. And Ruckus, I think you mentioned it one of your lives when you came back from Steve. It was like, you have to go there and you have to see this terrain. You can't explain it to someone. You can't look at the map. You have to stand at the bottom and look up at the bridge, stand up at the bridge and look down. So
you have to feel it under your feet. You have to smell it. You have to take it all in.
I think you're 1,000% right, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to go to Flora too, even though the house isn't there. I'm going to go to Flora and just look around. I don't know.
Just to let everybody know, the weather on Saturday is supposed to be a high 56, a little nipply.
Yeah,
so
but no rain, right?
Not that I've seen. So
we got 6 inches of rain in 36 hours here. We were so busy last night. People were stuck in cars. Everything was flooded. Main roads that never get flooded. Roads blocked.
It's going to get snow tonight and tomorrow.
Snow. They were telling us we might get some Friday morning, like a shower that'll mix with rain, but that ain't going to bother us. Ruckus, I'm sure you love hearing us talk about cold weather and your warm layer down there in Florida. Which you don't
the Delta's ready when you are. I mean, you don't have to live in I grew up in Boston. You're preaching to the choir, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Well, Pop, I think I'm going to cut it out of here. I appreciate everyone in the chat. The super chats, or you guys blow me away. I hit the $100 threshold, so I'll be getting my first YouTube check next month, which is
big money. Big money.
Well, yeah, it's like $101, but I'm just like, wow, like it's not the amount. It could be $1 million or $50. And I really mean that. Like, people sent me money because I'm talking and they like, they're into it, or I think that's really cool. And it's a special relationship. And both of you guys know this, that a subscriber and a creator have, and, other creators and things like that. But like, you have your tribe of people that always come into your chats. And, maybe some people that are in my chats will come into yours now. We got a good team. We really do got a good group of people together.
I agree.
Get on each other's shit and bust balls and everything like that. But, yeah.
One more time, guys.
Yep. Frank is right.
Let me back up. There we go. Just remember, it's about these 2 young ladies, guys. Nothing else. It's while we're all here. Justice for Abby and Libby. And on my end, thanks, Kev, for having me up.
Thanks for coming up. Always
good to see you. Good to see you, Ruckus.
Good to see you too.
What do you got, Ruckus? Any goodbyes for us?
Don't take any wooden nickels.
Peace out. One love, guys. Good night.
Tentacles, drink your drinks.
Good
Thanks
night,
to my
guys.
2 guests and my 2 buddies, Coach Kev, Ruckus, and Frankmeister.